So I was talking to a guy the other day who runs a podcast where he interviews reality TV stars. And he was telling me that RuPaul's Drag Race, that show, the ratings have been down. I don't watch the show, so I don't know if it's currently on at the time of this video or if he's talking about the last season. I also know that a lot of reality TV shows in general, the ratings have been down. And I think that's because of a lot of reasons related to COVID specifically. I think people are now they want to be out of the house. They don't want to stay home and watch TV as much. I also think the shows like The Real Housewives, where right now the seasons that are on air, I know that a lot of them are showing the housewives going through the pandemic and how life is for them during COVID. And I think a lot of people don't want to relive all of that. They don't want, they go to reality TV for escapism, not to remind them of the stress of their own reality. So I'm aware of all of that. But when he said that the ratings were down for RuPaul's Drag Race, I wondered if that had anything to do with my theory, which is that I believe this drag queen hype, and drag queens have been around for decades, and probably historically, in human civilization, men dressing up as women in caricature and stuff has probably always been a thing. But I feel like right now there's a big hype and wave of the celebration of drag queen culture, down to commercials. I was just watching, I think, a Target commercial the other day where they had drag queens in the commercial, and I was like, wow, it's now really mainstream. And I think that show, RuPaul's Drag Race, has definitely played a role in that. But anyway, my theory is that despite this current huge hype and popularity and mainstream success of this cultural phenomenon, I really do believe that 10 to 20 years from now, drag queen culture will not be seen favorably, and that it'll actually be, I think the tide will turn and people will look at it very negatively. There's a lot of reasons why I feel this way. First reason is I feel like as a culture, we're moving away from mean-spirited, bullying type behavior. I think we see this even with reality TV, all those talent shows, the American Idol type shows. It's not cool anymore to show these vulnerable contestants who are awful and the world laughing at them. That was a huge part of the success in the beginning for shows like American Idol. And now the culture has moved away from that, the TV culture. I think now there's, especially because of social media, there's so much more accountability for how people behave and treat each other in pop culture and on reality TV, and celebrities among each other. You always hear about this cancel culture concept. And I think because social media has given so many people a voice now, it just becomes an avalanche effect. People feel more comfortable voicing their opinions, I think, behind a screen, right? Behind a computer, behind a phone. So more people comment, and then I think executives, I think just the general public too, you see how people react, and it can completely affect ratings, a brand, product placement. So that's part of the reason I have this theory, because I just feel a lot of drag queen culture revolves around throwing shade and dissing each other. I think a lot of it revolves around humiliation, both self-deprecatingly, but also making fun of others. And then of course there's the element of gay people being accepted more and more and more in society. And I think the more that happens, the less gay men will feel the need to hide beneath the veneer of makeup and hair and these big performances. I think a lot of gay men do drag because it's a distraction from their reality, and it's a way to feel pretty. It's a way to feel validated, to feel special, to feel worthy of attention. And I think a lot of that, maybe I'm projecting, but I just feel a lot of that is shame-based. And then of course there's the whole component of they're dressing up as women, but it's a caricature of a woman. So I just imagine that a lot of women already don't really love what that represents. But as we become a more woke culture, a more, I think, sensitive culture, more aware of the nuances of what these things represent or mean or demonstrate, I do feel the tide is going to turn on drag queen culture. And it's really interesting that right now it's seen, it's celebrated, it's become really mainstream, but I don't know that that will happen forever. I also know that RuPaul has gotten some backlash from apparently how he treats some of the contestants, and that ironically they say he's a lot like Tyra Banks with America's Next Top Model, where there's a lot of off-camera sort of mean-spiritedness or like power dynamics and stuff. And I just wonder if at some point the lid is going to blow off all of this. And maybe that's just me reading way too into it, but I am curious about it, and I'm curious what you guys think about this, as always.